Hi everyone, this is Fernando Herboso with Maxus Realty Group, and today I have a special treat for you. I have one of our agents. His name is Jeff McInnis. He is an experienced realtor. He's ready to talk about something very important. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 costly mistakes home buyers make, and that is something that you're going to need in case you are deciding to buy a house pretty soon. So hi Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Fernando. What about yourself this evening?
Great, great. And thank you for joining us today. I know that it's a special day for the NFL. Today is the first day of the game, but we are very hardworking people, and we're over here doing this video because we had this schedule before. But I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce a little bit about yourself to the people that are watching this video and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, again, thank you for the opportunity. And also let me just say hello to the watching audience. As introduced, my name is Jeff McInnis. I'm an agent working with the Maxus Realty Group team, Herboso and Associates, with Fernando Herboso position as our agent broker. I've been in the real estate, actually selling and helping buyers to purchase homes for approximately 5 years now. However, my real estate background dates back much farther than that. Personally, I'm an owner of investment properties, and then secondarily, in my other career with government, I served as, chief of real estate and property for a number of years for one of the DC departments. So real estate has always been on my radar, has always been a passion, and at some point I decided to just hone in and go and get my real estate license. Contacted Fernando and said, hey, Fernando, here's what I'm about to do. It's a goal of mine, and I'm going to get it done. And when I get it done, I want to work with you as my broker. And there it was. A relationship was born.
Well, I can tell you that, from the very first time I met you, and I know how professional you are, but most importantly, I know you have passion for helping people, and you're like a professor, basically. You're educating your clients step by step. And that's what I like about you, Jeff. And I'm inspired by you, the way that you're working with buyers, and that I think that a lot of real estate agents would like to have the same type of qualities that you have. And I really want to congratulate you about that, Jeff. So I'm very happy and very, very glad that you are with us and working with us with the Maxus Realty Group. So today I want to talk to you about the 5 costly mistakes that home buyers make. This is something that we see every day, basically in and out. We see that why is it that some buyers have a great experience and they come out with a beautiful and nice home at the end, and then there is some other buyers that they have bad experience, and they basically going through obstacles, and they're going through mistakes, not knowing where they're going, and finally the end result is not really that great. So that's why I wanted to do and I wanted to ask you this question about the 5 costly mistakes. And number one, one of the costly mistakes that I see that is done very often is about the ignoring the pre-approval process. And so can you share with us about why is that important for people looking to buy a home, Jeff?
Yeah, I sure will. And let me just bring it from a place of experience working with buyers. As an agent, as you said, Fernando, I have a passion for helping, the buyer not only, conceptualize, eventually having a purchase, but actually being able to get the keys to the home. And one of the things I try to have my clients to avoid is being frustrated by the process. It's a process that's unknown to many. A lot of them will launch out and, begin to look for homes on their own, or they might have heard someone say, oh, you're not ready, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so, when they make contact with me, again, educating them, first of all, is important about the process, how to get started, right? And congratulating them on actually making contact with the agent and cooperating in that sense. But the pre-approval process cannot be underestimated because it is the beginning point. It is the one piece of critical information that helps to inform the buyer's process. And what do I mean by that? When a buyer goes out, on their own and says, I'm going to, start looking for homes. and they go out into Beverly Hills and they look at, $1 million, homes or Taj Mahals of a home. And they see something that they really like. Oh, this is me all day long. I've got to have it. And so then they make contact with the agent or the lender only to find that dreams are crushed, that they, are not qualifying in the range to be able to purchase, that level of home. Or the other side to that is they may be looking at something way beneath where their dream really is, because they don't have the data to inform or to drive their activity. So getting pre-approved, by a lender, again, is the first critical step in the process because it helps to inform all things that are to come, especially, and I place emphasis on, when you begin house shopping, because you need to know your purchase range. You need to know the range that's most comfortable for you. When your lender pre-approves you, if he approves you at a $600,000 purchase, gravy. But you may decide a $600,000 purchase and a mortgage that comes along with that is not something that I can really afford. What I can afford is an $1,800 a month purchase. And so instead of looking for the $600,000 house, oh, I'm so happy I qualified at that level, I'm going to scale that back and I'm going to look for a house in the $350,000, $400,000 range. Again, you're able to make an informed decision because you have that data point available to you. The other piece that's very important about this is now you have the information about your purchase range and you're out shopping for the home and you're working with me, the agent, and we're standing in the home and I ask you the question, my infamous question, do you see yourself making this house your home? And you say yes. And I say to you, okay, would you like to put an offer in on the home, an offer to purchase? And you say, yes, I would. What makes your offer strong is for your agent to be able to attach the lender's pre-approval letter to the offer, because then the seller will know that you are a serious buyer and not just someone who's pushing paperwork their way, just taking a chance. Maybe will, maybe won't. And so it's important, for those two reasons, primarily.
Well, not to mention that if you have somebody that loves a home, and I've seen this before, they're ready to do the sending an offer. So now they have to prepare themselves with a pre-approval and talking to the loan officer and providing information to the loan officer. Meanwhile, the house is being sold to somebody else, and that's the worst thing that can happen. They're not ready.
That's exactly right. And so one of the things I always tell my clients in the process, again, just in educating them, is that time is of the essence. And so you're exactly right, Fernando. If you go and see a preview of home and you say, I can make this house, my home, and you want to put an offer in, you don't want to have to worry about then calling a lender or trying to be matched with a partner lender, because then it's going to take days, perhaps, for you to get your actual approval. And as you just indicated, by that time, the home has already been offered, the seller has already accepted an offer from a serious buyer who's already had the letter in pocket and was able to submit a full offer at the outset.
So I always had I always say this to the buyers that we work with, that, the best foundation to get started in the process of buying a home is actually having that pre-approval on hand and having a clear understanding of how much they actually can afford and how much are they willing to pay every month, and making sure that all those things are taken care of before going to the next step, which it is hunting for homes.
That's exactly right. And when buyers are working with me, and I like to personalize it in the conversation, when they're working with me, I explain to them that I have the patience of Job. It's not about me. This is your process. This is a big investment, right, that you're going to make. And so however long it needs to take, right, for us to pull all the pieces together and get you the keys to that home, I'm here to support you and to assist you all the way through. So it's important that, buyers not only look to be pre-approved, but they look to make certain that they're connecting with an agent who's going to be patient with them and educate them and guide them through the process, including not only helping to match them with a partner lender, but also speaking with the lender about, the buyer's goals and intentions. so that you can help move the process along.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeff, because so obviously a lot of buyers do not know what to ask to lenders, and connecting themselves with a great real estate agent such as you know exactly what you need to ask, what type of programs may be available for them, and then making sure that they go and take the right first step. So going out to the second costly mistake about home buyers making, and one of the things I determined, and I've seen this many times, is ignoring grants or benefits that are available to them. This is about people going to buy a home without taking advantage of many grants and benefits that's available, especially in the state of Maryland, which we have such a great help, especially for first-time home buyers. And they are not inquiring about these grants, and their agents sometimes that they're working with don't even know about these grants. And this is why I think it's very important for buyers to know about all these things. So what is your experience with this part of the buying process, Jeff?
Absolutely. And Fernando, I want to start by just saying this, that, you know, in almost every transaction, a seller has representation. And for me, it's critical, and it's necessary also for the buyer to have representation. And the reason is, you know, a great segue into the question that you just asked about, you know, grants and opportunities that are out there that can augment, you know, some of the out-of-pocket costs that, you know, a buyer may be expected to come to the table with at closing. And so my experience is, again, for the buyer that's shopping on their own, that's contacting the listing agent saying, hey, can I get into this home to see this home? And the listing agent is, or the selling agent is, you know, assisting them. And if they like the home, and then they go to their lender and say, hey, I want to buy this home, right? That's a buyer who's just going into it so blindly, okay? Because the seller all day long, every day, their interest and their loyalty is with, you know, the client that they're selling, you know, the property for. Having a buyer's agent, right, in your corner, again, to support and assist you, your buyer's agent is going to do, or at least I do, as much homework as I possibly can to, again, to help you with your process so that it's not painful even, right, financially for you. So what I do generally, again, is once you're matched with a lender and you authorize me to be able to speak with that lender, I'm going to be on the phone with you during this pandemic time on Zoom meetings, you know, with you and your lender that oftentimes I arrange. And we're going to not only be talking about, you know, what your numbers look like for a specific purchase, but I'm going to be asking the questions and helping you to ask the questions about what local grant opportunities there might be, what statewide opportunities there might be, what kind of federal grant opportunities may be out there that you may be eligible for. And you know, for those who, you know, may believe that or be of the opinion that, you know, but my salary is such that I won't be able to qualify for the program. Well, you would never know if the question is not asked. And so I always encourage the buyers to ask the questions. The majority of my buyers have qualified for programs. Most specifically, the Maryland, the MMP, the Maryland Mortgage Program, which, you know, almost anyone can qualify for. They have different categories of opportunities built within that one program. The Smart Buy program is specific for first-time home buyers, but the Maryland Mortgage Program in general, you know, almost anyone can qualify for. And for persons who are, you know, have a moderate, you know, income, and a family, but still, you know, wants to purchase, you know, Maryland has the MPDUs, the moderately priced dwelling units program, which is a government program that they may be eligible for. Just speaking, if I can share one example, I had a client last year, I believe it was, who was interested in purchasing in Charles County, and she did not have a lot of liquid asset, meaning cash money on hand. But she really did need to purchase. She was living in a very small apartment, her and her 3 kids, and she needed to expand, and they just needed some room. And so I began to work with her, and in the process, we were able to match her with several programs. And then I discovered that Charles County had a local program that she also qualified for that, was able to add approximately $6,000, to her closing costs. And the program was such that it could be matched with other programs that she had already qualified for. Sometimes that's not the case, but in this particular case, she was able to qualify for that Charles County a local program offering, as well as the MMP.
Well, that is incredible. That each county have the different programs that they offer to their residents, and just like you're saying, in Charles County, you're going to have the same thing in Montgomery County, PG County, Frederick County, even Washington County. I mean, so what is important, I think, that people need to understand is that this is what I like about you, Jeff, because you have experience not only in real estate, but you have experience working with the government and the in and outs about the real estate process. And you have a lot of knowledge of these programs. And I think a buyer should be benefiting a lot working with you because of this knowledge that you can basically bring in, like you say on your client, that she got a $6,000 savings without knowing she's going to pay her closing costs. Man, that will pay enough money to help her move in a truck and don't have to lift her finger, man.
Absolutely. And if I can further elaborate on that, example, just a little more, she was, before discovering that particular grant on her behalf, she was looking to have to come to the closing table with approximately $4,500. Okay, so with this $6,000 now added in that, we would discover, she actually got a check in hand at the closing table. And so instead of her having to bring money forward, she was actually given a check at closing.
Well, that is exactly what we do in this case, because I want to make people understand, that you have helped somebody to buy a house. They did not have to bring actually any money to the table, like down payment. And in fact, they got paid to buy a home. And that is some great news, Jeff. And you gotta be commended for that. And a lot of people don't know about these things and these scenarios because nobody's talking about them. Nobody's saying about them. Meanwhile, we see so many people thinking about, oh, I can't afford to buy a home yet. I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to be in a better position.
Right.
And they don't understand all these programs out there that they can help them. And this should be the time, specifically because the interest rates being so low, that you should take consideration to make that decision and give us a call. Give Jeff a call. And if you want to be one of the lucky ones working with him, he's going to take you by the hand and going to show you all these benefits that you can get from the government and help you buy a home. So let's talk about the number 3 part that I wanted to talk to you about in the costly mistakes that home buyers make. And that this is about ignoring the home inspection. I've seen many times where some people, especially when I'm in the listing side, I have people coming and purchasing a home with me, and they have a buyer that's represented by their own agent, and they don't even ask for a home inspection, and they just like they're going on the blind. Obviously, the houses that I sell are nice and clear, and it's not really no problems. But I imagine if there was a problem, they will never find out because they have not taken the time to do a home inspection. So, and I'm always thinking that maybe that buyer's agent is not advising that buyer how important is a home inspection. What are your thoughts about home inspections on the field, Jeff?
Well, again, the last thing we want is for a buyer to be frustrated on the front end or the back end. And I'm going to add to that, on the back end, we also don't want the buyer to have any regrets. And a buyer who does not have a home inspection as a part of their process may absolutely have regrets once they get the keys to the home, because what you see to the naked eye is one thing, but once you start to move things and look behind things and turn over that rock, you're going to see something, that might not be so pleasing, and where you might want to ask the seller before before your purchase is complete to address or to remedy. And there are processes that governs that whole interaction built into the language of the contract. But no, you don't want to forego, an inspection. And right now it's a seller's market all day long. It's hot, right? Because, supply is low, demand is high. And so we even have a lot of homes that are going, above their listing price. And so a lot of buyers are believing that if I put that inspection contingency into my offer and the other offer does not have the inspection contingency, then the seller is going to likely go with the one that does not have the inspection contingency. You know what? It may happen that way, right? We don't know. It's a gamble. But what you don't want to gamble, right, is taking on an asset, a home that you know absolutely nothing about except for your walkthrough. My experience with inspectors are that they go through and they touch almost everything in the home, from the windows to the window blinds. They turn on the water, they run the appliances, they turn on the stove. If there's a spa or a jet type tub, they fill the tub. So to check to see if the jets are going, they inspect, the HVAC system, your heating and air. If you have sump pumps, they're looking to see when those were last inspected. They're just looking at everything, the nuts and bolts. They look, into your attic. If there's an attic, they're looking at, your roof to see, if the shingles, are peeling off or have flown off. So they're going to give you an A to Z inspection of that home. And it is not just to uncover, things that might be wrong with the home or things that might need to be corrected in the here and now, but the inspector will also, as a part of the process, they will advise you as the oncoming homeowner of, areas within the home or things, but, the mechanics and structural things about the home that you might need to give some attention to 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. So it's a very informative process, but it's one, again, that I would advise that any buyer should forego. Even if you think that is going to weaken your offer, do not forego your contract. There's a lady, she wasn't a client of mine, it's just someone that I know. She purchased a home out in the Southern Maryland area, and she chose not to have the home inspection. Just a day before her closing, she went to settlement. She went to do the final walkthrough the day before closing. Everything was fine. She went to closing the next day. Everything worked out fine, got the keys to the home, and then drove from the closing table directly to the home, single family home. And when she got there, the entire basement was flooded.
Wow.
The entire basement was flooded. And when she tells that story, I mean, it almost puts you in tears because, again, this is not someone with deep pockets, but now she's having to dig deep because she now owns the home. And guess what? The seller has absolutely no obligation, no responsibility, no liability at all. She forewent that inspection, and she lives to regret it.
Well, that is exactly why also we're doing the videos, because yes, and you have the right scenario right now for people to not doing all the home inspections because they're afraid that their offers are not going to be accepted, especially if they're competing with another buyer. But still, I think this is something, like you said, a major investment for you. And a home inspection is definitely one of the biggest decisions you're going to make buying a home, so you can have peace of mind. Because if that house is not going to be for you, it's not going to be for you. But if you do all the right steps, just like your real estate agent will advise you, you're going to come out a winner. You're going to find the right house at the end.
That's exactly right. If I can say something else about that for the buyers that maybe listening in, once we prepare your offer to purchase, there is a provision within the language of the offer that, specifies by when you as the buyer will have the home inspection completed. And that's typically within a 7 to 10 day window, on average about 7 days. The inspection is at the buyer's cost. And generally, it can range. I've had one come in as low as $375 and one as high as $575. So sometimes the square footage matters. Sometimes, there are some inspection companies that will say if it's a single family home, we have a flat fee. If it's a townhouse, we have a flat fee. But we as agents, we're going to look at, to make certain that you get someone who's very credible and trustworthy to come in and do your inspection, because again, it's a major investment. But after the inspection is done or completed, you as a buyer, you then have an opportunity to review with your agent the inspector's findings. And in most cases, you're able to then serve a notice of inspection back to the seller to say, I would like for you to address these particular items, prior to the date of settlement. And most buyers, sellers will either make those corrections or remedy those issues, or they may decide, to offer you some credit so that you can go about it, on your own. I have not experienced any cases where a seller has said, no, I'm not going to do any of that, and so, if you want, we can just void the contract. I've not seen that. Mostly, when you're in a transaction and there is a bona fide contract, everybody involved is interested in having the parties get to settlement so that the house can change hands. And so it can be some negotiation back and forth, but for the most part, both parties, seller and buyer, are able to work cooperatively through their agents, to make things happen again, so the transaction can be completed as stipulated.
That's a great point you bring, Jeff, because at the same time, as a listing agent that have more experience with listings than buyers, I can tell you that home inspection also protects the sellers, because once the home inspection is gone through, there is more, it's an open contract, it's an open transaction, and it's an open house where there is nothing hidden in there that later on can come out and then somebody's going to be mad and going through a lawsuit or something like that. A home inspection basically opens up the whole thing and make it clear for everybody what type of house you're buying and what type of house this person is selling. Absolutely. As long as that there's nothing hidden behind it where the seller may be trying to do something against the law by trying to hide some type of problem in the house, I can assure you a home inspection not only protects the buyer, but also protects the seller. And that's really one of the major points on this I want to make. So let's talking about the next part of the 5 costly mistakes that we're talking about. We're going to be in number 4 now. And this is a problem that I see many times. I've been doing this for so many years. And I talk to people that they go and start the process of buying a home without an agent. And they want to make sure that I don't know if they're trying to see if they can save money, or they're doing this because they feel like an agent is not going to help them. But why in the world would somebody go and look for a home that is such a huge investment for them and go and do it themselves when there's no experience behind them and there's nobody there to consult and making sure that they're doing the right steps?
Yeah. And you do find that there's a lot of that activity. And what I generally find when I'm out in the field, when assisting clients, then I run into those who are out there just kind of independently on their own, is that either they're just the type of people who like to go out and just cruise neighborhoods and see homes and walk through new construction to get some ideas about how they can re-outfit their own home. But then you have some who are out there who are actually interested in purchasing a home, but they're going it on their own. And when I have an opportunity to speak with those individuals, generally what I find is they have been provided, wrongful information. They've been told that, in order to have an agent represent you, it's kind of like an attorney. You've got to, enter into this huge retainer agreement and put forth $5,000, or then you kind of spin down. So there's some myths out there about, working with agents. And so I think, to this question, I think it's important for me and me and you to clarify for the buyers and the listeners that, and I said this early on, the majority of sellers have representation, an agent representing them. And it's important also that buyers have agents representing them, because at the end of the day, when you like a home, there still has to be an offer to purchase. There's then, once it's accepted, there's then the contract, because it's now ratified. And then both the seller and the buyer have performance expectations under that contract. The selling agent's not going to help you, right, to perform under that contract, because they're not representing you, okay? And so it's best that you have an agent, available to assist you, with being on that part of it, right, being able to manage the contract and what your obligations and responsibilities are under the contract. But not just that, but, to help you, as you were saying, Fernando, on the front end of it, to understand, right, the home that you're looking at, to not only get you access, but maybe there's some information, that's included for agents only, right, that, the general public can't see. There are disclosures, as you very well know, that you and I get to, go through for each home where we have interested clients. And if there's something in the disclosures, we want to be able to have that conversation with our clients, because it could make the difference of whether or not they want to put an offer in on the home or not. But it's important that again, and I say it with emphasis, not just because I mostly represent buyers, but it is absolutely important that buyers would obtain buyer representation, because the process is complex, right? There are a lot of moving parts, and we talked about some of those already. And in order to get to the finish line most effectively and most efficiently, a buyer's agent can support and assist you in getting it done.
Yeah, and it's a great point what you say at the beginning, that this is not going to cost money, because the commissions that the sellers pay on those commissions is part of that is going to pay for the buyer to have representation, and that is the good thing about buyers. You should, if you're not going to pay for a buyer's agent, then it behooves you to try to find the best agent out there, the person that is going to have the most knowledge and the one that's going to help you. And that is always something that I always say to people. You need to consult with people. You need to talk to people. Have a feel with your agent, because you're going to go through an arduous road getting to the final point of buying a home. And that person has to become your friend. And that person is going to stop you from doing things that you should not be doing for your own benefit. And you have to follow their advice. So you have to trust that person. And that person has to be the right person for you. And that is really what is going to be the end result for you, whether you're going to have a good experience or a bad experience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, for the buyer who says, I'll just drive up to the home and I'll call the listing agent and I'll ask the listing agent to come and let me in the house. Well, again, the listing agent does not work for you and can never work for you. And so even if they let you into the house to see the house, they are still in their capacity, right, working with the selling, their client on the selling end. They can never represent you. And so if you want your interest, to be protected, and someone to be on your side at 100%, again, assisting and supporting you, you need to have buyer representation. And it comes with no cost. The seller pays my commission, not you.
Well, that brings me to something I just remembered. Now we're talking about some examples, and I want to give this example as a listing agent, because I had a listing in Germantown a few years back, and somebody called me and they told me that they were interested in the property. They were asking me questions on the phone, and then during our conversation, I found out that this person's sister lived in the same subdivision, and they were very close together. And one of their wishes that they were looking for was that their kids grew up with their cousins on the same neighborhood and going to the same school. So that was a great thing to know as a listing agent, because then later on I found out that she had an agent, and they called and they went to an agent, and then long story short, they come and send us an offer. And when they send the offer was a lot less than what we were asking for. But then when I told my seller, you know, this lady really wants this house because her sister lives here, you know, so we are not going to drop the price that low.
Right.
So why don't we do it a counter, you know, for the same asking price and see what they say.
Right.
We were in a good, and this is the part of the business that a lot of people don't understand. You know, when it comes to business, as long as that we're ethical, my main protection is towards my seller, because they're the ones that hire me to sell the house for the most money. Just like if you hiring Jeff for your agent as a buyer, he is the one going to be protecting your best interest. So for me, is I protect my seller's interest, and what is his interest? To making sure that get as much money for the house as possible. And that's what I intend to do. And this is the reason why everyone needs representation. Seller needs one, and the buyers need one.
Fernando, that's such a great point. And I just want to make sure that you don't miss what you just said. And so I want to bring it a different way, although it's not a true example. I just want to draw an example. If you as a buyer have a listing agent to support you in getting into a home to preview, and then that listing agent asks you a simple question. Oh, are you going to be able to purchase this? Have you been approved? What is your approval rate? And they're selling the house for $450, and you say, oh, I've been approved for $550. And then you go back 2 days later, you submit an offer for $400,000. You've already told the listing agent or the selling agent that you've been approved for way over what they've listed the home for. So, and that's information that they can absolutely use, right, in their decision making on whether to accept the offer or to say, no, I'm not going to sell it to you for $400. I'm going to sell it to you for $450. Okay, because you've already told them you've been approved for much higher. So a buyer's agent, right, representing you, helps to keep you tempered. Okay, we're going to make certain that you're not saying what you shouldn't be saying publicly. We're going to make certain that your interest is protected, because when we want to negotiate pricing, we want to make certain that we know what you can do and the other team does not know, so that we can get you the best deal.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a great point, Jeff. But going to the next step, the last one, the number 5 of the 5 costly mistakes that home buyers make, is about looking for a home the wrong way. The reason why I wanted to talk to you about this part, and I see this as a huge mistake and it's a big problem with a lot of buyers, is because I see it all the time, and I've been reflecting on this, Jeff. You know, I know some buyers that they had to look at 40 homes before they make a decision to buy the home that they're looking for. Right. And they're unhappy at the end, on top of that. And then I see other buyers that they went to see 5 homes, they purchased the home, and they're so happy that everything went well. So what is the big big piece that it needs to be implemented on a buyer to have a successful purchase? What is the difference between seeing 40 homes and only seeing 5 homes and knowing what house to buy?
Focus. And that's the operative word, focus. Working with an agent to help you focus in on what your criteria is, and that criteria including location. Now, you might ask for there to be 25 different things as a part of your criterion set. And we may not find all 25 things in a home. Our discussion is about what are your essentials and what are not so essential, right, for you to have. So that once we begin looking for homes, we are focused in our search and our previews, and we're focused in on the location. Now, if that location should change, perhaps because, just drawing an example, let's say if you're interested in purchasing, in Prince George's County, kind of in the Largo, Upper Marlboro area of Maryland, but there are no homes that, you find fits your stated criteria, your essentials, that is. And so you say, oh, well, Laurel is just over here, so let's suspend this search and let's move over to Laurel. That's fine, right? You're still focused. But for the buyer who wants to just visit home after home in every zip code, those are buyers that aren't focused. And so so the agent, it's incumbent upon the agent, again, in supporting and assisting. One of the things we owe our clients, other than loyalty, is truthfulness. And so it's important for us as agents to say, Fernando, we seem to be kind of, all over the place right now. Let's stop and have a conversation again so that we can further discuss your criteria and your location, because I want to make certain as an agent that I'm providing you superior service in the, with regards to the listings that I'm sending you and when we're out in the field. And that's a non-negotiable for me, and hopefully you can appreciate that. So instead of us driving all over the place, let's just stop here at the local restaurant and let's sit down and talk about where we've been, what we've seen, what didn't work for you, in what we have seen, and what you're still looking for, and how we now need, right, to perfect, our criteria, so that as we journey forward, we are journeying in a very focused manner. You may recall, Fernando, back here, maybe about a year or so ago, 2 years, you and I were just having some short conversation, and I shared with you a client that I was working with, who I had been working with for almost a year. Part of that was just kind of nurturing the relationship, and then once we got set down and qualified, and we're out in the field doing our thing, he just could not settle in on a home. And I mean, we probably got to our 45th home, and I said, we need to go over to the restaurant and have a conversation, okay? Because we're driving all over Maryland and nothing is happening. And I told him, just being truthful, I said, there's this saying that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And the more you look at homes, right? If you're looking at 20 and 30 and 40 homes, it's not about criteria at that point. It's about, does this home over here look or better than this home? And then you start kind of, just sticking with that example, he almost became an inspector. We'll walk in the homes and start doing things inspectors would do, And I said, we're not focused here. It's not a good experience. It's not a good experience for the buyer primarily. It's not a good experience for the agent supporting the buyer. Again, the last thing I want is for my clients to be frustrated. And if you're looking at 40 homes, to me, you're frustrated because you've not found what you wanted. And if you've not found what you wanted in looking at 40 homes, then I didn't have to ask myself where I have failed as an agent in helping you to hone in on your criteria, okay? That's why it's important for us to stop, not because I'm being bad to my client, but let's stop because perhaps I've missed something, okay? And so we need to sit down together, again, rewrite our script so that we can start off again in a more focused and perfected way.
Yeah, one of the things that I, by my experience, and I talk to many people about finding the right home, I think the biggest mistake that buyers make is that they're trying to find what I say is a home, okay? They're trying to find a home, but a lot of people do not understand that a home is not something that it can be purchased. You're going after a house, And the house is what is going to become your home.
Absolutely.
For the house to become your home, it needs your touch. It needs your input. You know, and sometimes maybe the kitchen is not going to be the perfect thing, or the bathroom may not be the perfect thing. But once you move into the house, what you're buying is basically the blank canvas of your home, where you are going to put the inputs necessary to make it that perfect home. I mean, I've been knowing Jeff for many years, you know, and we've been together talking so many times. I've been to his home and he's been to my home. And I can tell you this, you know, Jeff really preaches what he practiced, because he has got a beautiful home. He has a beautiful family, and that is what he started. You know, this is the part that we have in common, that we want to create the best possible home, a safe home for our families. But I can assure you that when we first got into our homes, we did not see that. We had a job to do that. So when you go and look at our homes, you need to go and look for the house that is going to become your home after you put your input, and everybody does that in your family. So that is a great point, Jeff, what you're saying, because while I was listening saying about the focusing part of being a buyer and everything else, I think that is gold for, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. You need to listen to Jeff. The things that he's saying is the right things to say. Don't get frustrated, because home buying should be an experience that will be joyful, happy for your family, because it's such a great and huge step for your family, because not only that makes you happy knowing that you are the owner of this home, but at the same time it's your shelter for your family, where you're going to have the love that you want for your family. And that's really what I like.
And it's okay. It's okay to know that you're going to have to put a little TLC, tender loving care, into the house to make it your home, which is why, going back to a point I made early on in the conversation, when we go in and my client says, I like this house, or I ask them, can you make this house your home? Stand in the pockets, the corners of it, and just look panoramically. Can you make this your home? Because I think that's key. Make it a house. Your home comes with everything you've just described, Fernando. You're going to put your own touch, your own loving care into the home. So the walls might be white when you purchase them. You may want them to be eggshell or pink or purple once you purchase it. Whatever your taste is. The home may not have a deck already. My home didn't have a deck, and as you very well know, I wanted a deck on a home. That was one of my criteria, but my home didn't have a deck. I built a deck, had a deck built on my home, but it was some years later. And so it's okay once you purchase your house, and as you're going about making it your home, just keep in mind that it's yours, and you can take your time, right, to do the things that you feel and that you envision doing in order to make it most comfortable for you. So some of those essentials we talked about that you may not find exact, is not that you can't get it there once you make the purchase.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate it, Jeff. We talk about 5 different things, and I just want to recap. We talk about ignoring the pre-approval process. We talk about ignoring the grants or benefits that's available to you. We talk about ignoring the home inspection, which is such an important step in the purchasing process of a home. And then we talk about going house hunting without an agent. We talk about the importance of that. And finally, now we're talking about how to go and look for homes and how to have a great experience doing this. And I hope people were able to see the passion that, Jeff has about helping people buy a home, just like we do. And this is really what I like about my business, because I'm surrounded by the people that have the same passion as I do, because we want to help people. We want to make sure they're not going to make those mistakes that we're talking about. So one more time, Jeff, can you please tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, and what will be the process to get in touch with you to get started with this, if they want to work with you buying a home?
Sure, absolutely. And I want to remove that whole if factor. It's not if they want to work for me. I hope the audience will work with me. as your buying agent. Again, Jeff McInnis. I'm with the Maxis Realty Group, Herboso and Associates. We're actually headquartered in Clarksburg, Maryland, but we're mostly a virtual community. I'm licensed in Maryland, and our brokerage has cooperating brokerage relationships in Virginia as well as the District of Columbia. So we come full scale. We can help to meet your needs in the entire DMV. My phone number where I can be reached is 301-744-0700. Again, 301-744-0700. Email Jeff, Jeff, at reallynicehomes.com. Again, Jeff at reallynicehomes.com. Hope to hear from you.
Well, I'm pretty sure, man, if somebody was able to watch this video all the way to the end, I can assure you they're serious about buying a home. And if they wanted to get informed about the process of buying a home, this is the perfect time for them to listen what you had to say. And I really want to thank you once again for your time, Jeff. I know you're a busy guy, and we appreciate it. And I know your future customers and clients will also appreciate you taking the time to explain in such a way. And
I say one more thing before we end the video, and I'm sorry. I want to make mention of the FICO scores, because a lot of times we have buyers who are reluctant to start the process because they think their credit score is not at a range where they can qualify for a home purchase loan, because they're looking at Credit Karma or some of the other free engines that just send you your score. Let me say very quickly that that those resources, Credit Karma and others, they're not using the actual FICO score that lenders use. They're using a different score model altogether. It's that Advantage score model. Don't want to bore you with those details. But lenders use the actual FICO score. And what I have found, even with a client most recently, is that the Credit Karma score and some of those other scoring entities, their scores can be sometimes 30 points lower than your actual FICO score, okay? And sometimes it can be, points higher than, but for the most part, there is a discrepancy. So for the buyer who believes their credit score is not high enough because they're looking at Credit Karma or something, but they want to get started because it's their dream to get a home, get in contact with me. Let's have that discussion. Let's get you looked at because we want to make sure that you have the right score, and that if you're eligible and able to start the process, that we get you started.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it, and that's great information as well. So if you want to talk to Jeff, please give him a call. He's going to guide you through the process, and I can assure you, he's going to make sure you're going to be happy at the end. Once again, thank you, Jeff, and I appreciate it, and I want to see you next time, okay?
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thanks.